Welcome to our US Briefing Show. Today, we're diving into some hot topics that are shaking up the world stage. First up, tensions in the Russia-Ukraine conflict are escalating as a critical deadline set by former President Donald Trump approaches, raising the stakes for international security and diplomacy. Both Russia and Ukraine are feeling the pressure, and recent developments hint at a potentially volatile future. Next, Boeing is facing more turbulence with a second labor strike in just a year, involving over 3,000 workers protesting across U.S. plants. This comes amidst a series of crises over safety issues, regulatory scrutiny, and leadership changes that have tarnished its reputation. Can Boeing turn things around and restore trust in its brand? Lastly, the Middle East's Gulf states are caught in a complex web of regional tensions. While once optimistic about their strategic roles, recent conflicts between Iran and Israel, coupled with U.S. strikes, have exposed vulnerabilities. These nations are now trying to mediate amidst deep mistrust, aiming to maintain regional stability in a turbulent environment. Please continue to watch for more detailed insights. From Yahoo US, the escalating stakes in the Russia-Ukraine conflict are underscored as President Donald Trump's looming deadline for the Kremlin heightens tensions. The article highlights the precarious geopolitical landscape, with the potential for increased military engagement and diplomatic upheaval looming large. Meanwhile, the Associated Press details Boeing's ongoing struggles as it attempts to restore its tarnished reputation amidst a renewed labor strike involving over 3,000 workers at 3 U.S. plants. This strike marks the second major labor disruption within a year, reflecting deep-rooted issues within the aerospace giant, which has been marred by deadly crashes, safety concerns, and leadership upheavals since 2013. The narrative chronicles Boeing's turbulent history, from the grounding of the 787 due to lithium-ion battery fires, to the catastrophic crashes of Lion Air Flight 610 and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, which led to the grounding of the 737 MAX fleet and subsequent investigations revealing undisclosed flight control system flaws. Despite efforts to rebuild trust, Boeing faced legal repercussions, leadership changes, and a lengthy strike that crippled production, illustrating a company still grappling with its past while trying to navigate a complex future in aerospace safety and labor relations. According to the Associated Press, South Africa faces a dire economic threat as U.S. reciprocal tariffs threaten approximately 30,000 jobs, just days before a 30% tariff on most South African imports takes effect. The tariffs, imposed by the U.S., are the highest among South Africa's trading partners after China and the EU, creating significant uncertainty for export industries and prompting efforts to find new markets in Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. President Cyril Ramaphosa emphasized the importance of swift adaptation and ongoing engagement with the U.S. to safeguard export sectors and employment, amid already high unemployment rates, especially among youth. Tensions with the U.S. are compounded by diplomatic strains, including the expulsion of South Africa's ambassador, yet the government remains committed to diversifying markets and establishing support structures like the Export Support Desk, while business leaders call for a trade crisis committee to coordinate urgent responses. From foreign affairs, the Gulf states, once buoyed by post-pandemic energy surpluses and strategic diplomacy with the U.S., now face a turbulent regional landscape marked by conflict and shifting alliances. The recent Iran-Israel war, fueled by U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites, has exposed the Gulf's vulnerabilities, undermining their hopes of regional stability through U.S. backing. Gulf nations, especially Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, had bet on Trump's leadership to contain Iran and promote peace, but the escalation of hostilities and Israel's aggressive posture have shattered these hopes. As Iran reaffirms its nuclear ambitions and Israel seeks regional dominance, the Gulf states find themselves caught between powerful adversaries, risking regional chaos that could threaten their economic and security goals. Despite efforts to normalize relations with Iran and avoid conflict, the Gulf's strategic calculus has been upended, leaving them to navigate a more unstable and uncertain future in a region where great power rivalries and regional conflicts threaten their sovereignty and prosperity. The South China Morning Post reports that top-tier mathematician Li Hanfeng has left the U.S. for China's Chongqing University, marking a significant shift amid ongoing research funding cuts in the United States. Li, renowned for his prolific publications in prestigious journals and his pioneering work on entropy in dynamical systems and operator algebras, had been a distinguished professor at the University at Buffalo. His move reflects broader trends of Chinese scientists returning home as U.S. funding for fundamental sciences diminishes under political pressures, leading to career uncertainties for many researchers. Li's achievements, including being named an AMS Fellow, highlight his influence in mathematics, yet the current funding climate has prompted many to seek opportunities abroad. His departure underscores the growing scientific talent drain from the U.S., as American institutions struggle with budget constraints and political interference, prompting a new wave of intellectual migration back to China. South China Morning Post vividly details the brewing storm surrounding C.K. Hutchison at the Panama ports, where a proposed state partnership threatens to fundamentally change the operational structure of the strategic ports Cristobal and Balboa. These ports, vital to Panama's logistics network and generating nearly 40% of the country's throughput, are currently operated by C.K. Hutchison, a Hong Kong-based conglomerate owned predominantly by Li Ka-shing. The Panamanian government's recent suggestion to convert port operations into a public-private partnership, potentially involving a majority stake held by the state, has sparked intense legal battles and geopolitical tensions amid the broader U.S.-China trade war. The dispute could lead to significant financial losses for C.K. Hutchison, especially if existing concession agreements are nullified, and might force a forced handover of key terminals. The crisis is underscored by internal legal challenges, such as the court's questioning of the 2021 concession renewal, and external political maneuvers, including Panama's president advocating for public ownership to appease national security concerns and Beijing's influence. Foreign Policy's analysis of France's strategic ambitions paints a picture of a nation eager to redefine Europe's sovereignty amidst a backdrop of U.S. hostility, economic strain, and internal divisions. French President Emmanuel Macron champions the idea of a Greater France within a reimagined European Union, emphasizing strategic autonomy and independence from U.S. and non-EU suppliers. France's push for a robust defense industry, illustrated by its resistance to EU funding for non-European arms manufacturers and its desire to develop an independent European defense market, exemplifies this vision. Macron's pursuit of joint EU borrowing and the extension of France's nuclear umbrella over Germany signals efforts to mask economic weaknesses and push forward a France-led integration project. However, this approach risks deepening divisions within the EU, especially with Central and Eastern European nations that rely on US and regional military suppliers, and may ultimately serve Paris's long-standing goal of exporting its economic vulnerabilities while exerting influence over broader European policies. Associated Press reports on the recent ceasefire and diplomatic efforts between Thailand and Cambodia, two long-standing rivals in Southeast Asia, following deadly border clashes that displaced over 260,000 people. The talks, held in Malaysia under ASEAN's auspices, mark a significant step toward de-escalation after a week of intense fighting rooted in decades-old territorial disputes, notably over the Preah Vihear temple. Despite the ceasefire brokered with U.S. diplomatic backing, evidenced by the U.S. reducing tariffs on trade from 36% to 19%, tensions persist, with both nations wary of further conflict and continuing to accuse each other of violations, including attacks on civilians and illegal weapons use. The negotiations focus on preventing further clashes and managing border security, with international observers from the US, China, and Malaysia present to monitor the situation. While the immediate conflict appears to be easing, underlying issues over territorial claims and historical grievances remain unresolved, threatening to ignite renewed violence if diplomatic efforts falter. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
News breaks, buzz the ground, stories spit, walls come down. Voices merge in the sound, faces mix in the crowd. Broadcasters paint the scene, world events on our screen. Every link a different theme, words collide in the stream. 6 degrees connect the dots, background stories more than nuts. Hear the voices rise a lot, truth unveils in every spot. crash across the globe, spin the threads in a stroke. Every story wears a robe, truth and lies in their code. Journalistic real deep, secrets that they don't sleep. Every angle they repeat, in the news we take a leap. New perspectives day by day, hidden truths come to play. In the background shades of gray, every story finds its way. Perspectives day by day, hidden truths come to play. In the background shades of gray, every story finds its way.
Cultures, I go, what really or do not, what enough to be you, everything and ever, what enough and after, what enough and after, what enough and after, nothing, 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 nothing,